At first, I thought it was just a glitch in my system, a little flicker, a whisper through the wires. But the draw was steady, every night at 3:04 a.m., like clockwork. That's when I knew someone was stealing from me. Not money, not tools. Power. The kind of power I spent 40 years learning to control. So I did what any retired lineman with a little time and a long memory would do. I built a trap, and when it snapped shut, you better believe it wasn't just the outlet that blew. It was the whole illusion that you can take what you want and never get burned. I didn't retire to sit in a rocking chair and watch my bones rust. No, sir. I worked 42 years as a lineman, through snowstorms, heat waves, and hurricanes. I climbed poles when the wind could knock a squirrel into next Tuesday, and I learned early on, you don't mess with power unless you know what you're doing. So when I bought this little slice of land outside town and wired it up myself, solar, backup battery, custom breaker panels, I made it efficient, clean, and tight. I like things just so. Peaceful mornings, fresh cut grass, hot coffee, and my dog Daisy snoring underfoot. That peace lasted until the third Tuesday in April. I was checking my usage logs like I do, habit I never broke, and noticed a small power draw. Not a blip, not a surge. Something steady. Every night. Around 3 a.m. Just enough to feel like a whisper in the wires. At first, I figured Daisy knocked something loose in the shed. But the next night, and the night after, the pattern held. That whisper turned into a pattern. And I knew. Someone was siphoning juice off my line. 2 months prior, a woman named Vanessa moved in next door. Mid-40s, loud as a high-voltage transformer, full of attitude and accessories. She'd bought the old Martin property after a nasty divorce, rolled up in an SUV the size of a boat, blasting 80s pop, and unloaded more outdoor gear than a campsite. She had a tricked-out golf cart, a motorized scooter for her teenage daughter, and 2 industrial-sized patio heaters she insisted were eco-friendly, despite looking like something you'd use to torch a cornfield. She held loud wine nights with her girlfriends, danced in yoga pants on her back porch like she was trying to summon the moon, and started nearly every sentence with, "You know what I deserve." At first, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Divorce makes folks wild sometimes. But soon I noticed her cords. So many cords. Orange, yellow, thick gauge, snaking like jungle vines out of every door and window. She had more power-hungry toys than a county fair. And apparently she needed more juice than her own box could handle point one morning. I was trimming my tomato patch when I saw it, an orange extension cord half buried in the tall grass. It slid from behind my garage, through a gap in the fence, and right into Vanessa's backyard, where it disappeared behind her patio screen. Now, I'm not a man to assume, but I've installed every outlet on this property with my own 2 hands, and I knew where that cord was coming from. I walked around the side of the garage, and sure enough, she'd unplugged my weatherproof outlet cover and jammed in her cord like she owned the place. That's when it hit me. I was fueling her disco garden. All that power she was using to run lights, charge toys, heat the patio. It wasn't hers. It was mine. The next morning, I walked over. Calm, polite. Daisy at my heel. Vanessa answered the door in flip-flops, a silk robe, and sunglasses the size of frying pans. I mentioned the cord. Asked if maybe there was a misunderstanding. "Oh, that," she said, laughing like I'd asked about the weather. "We just borrowed a little power while our panel gets looked at. You've got solar, right? You probably didn't even notice." I told her I did notice, that my system is finely tuned and her borrowing was throwing off my balance. She waved me off with one hand, patted my arm like I was a grandchild, and said, "Relax, Frank. You're such a tech guy. It's not like we're stealing your car battery or something." I turned to leave before I said something I'd regret. But in my head, I was already sketching out a circuit diagram with her name on it. That night, I went to work. I didn't call the HOA. I didn't file a complaint. That's not how men like me handle things. I went to my workshop and built a decoy outlet, a beautiful little piece of bait, complete with a low-profile casing and a grounded neutral. I made it look real enough to fool a squirrel. I connected it to a modified impedance circuit, one that would trip cleanly and safely the moment someone tried to pull more than 3 amps. To a human, nothing more than a flicker. To an ATV charger or industrial patio heater, a silent execution. I mounted it behind the garage, right where she'd plugged in before. And for flair, I coiled up a nice, fat orange extension cord right beside it, as if I'd forgotten to bring it in. Vanessa wouldn't be able to resist point 2:58 a.m. I was sitting in my workshop with Daisy asleep at my feet. I had a cup of decaf in one hand and my power monitor in the other. 3:02, the line pinged. Power draw, 2.5 kilowatts. Steady. 3:04 pop. It wasn't loud, just sharp. A flash, a hiss. Then, from across the fence, "What the hell?" Vanessa's voice, full volume, shrieking like someone just scorched her Gucci throw pillows. I peeked through the blinds. Her golf cart was smoking like an old lawnmower. The extension cord was yanked out and dangling limp. Her daughter came running out in a panic. And me? I just sipped my decaf and smiled. The next morning, I got a knock on my door. A man in khakis with a clipboard and a smug smile. HOA inspector. He said I was being cited for unauthorized electrical installations and potential safety hazards. Turns out Vanessa had filed a complaint, claiming I'd booby-trapped my own outlet. I didn't argue. I just handed him a USB stick with time-stamped footage, full power logs, and a printed wiring diagram showing everything was to code and on my side of the fence. He looked stunned, mumbled something about further review, and walked away. But I knew what Vanessa would do next. She'd escalate at a few days later while I was hosing down the driveway. Tom from 2 doors down walked up. "Frank," he said, "you ever notice your breakers tripping late at night?" Turns out his outdoor fridge had gone warm 2 nights in a row. Nancy across the street mentioned her garden lights flickered around 3 a.m. The Patel family ran a catering business, had lost a freezer full of prep food from a mysterious power surge. Vanessa had been plugging into multiple homes. The cords, the draw patterns, the timing, it all matched. I told them what I'd done, showed them the setup. By nightfall, we had a group chat, called it What's Up. And let me tell you, it caught fire faster than a cheap surge protector in a thunderstorm. At the next HOA meeting, we came prepared. Flash drives, screenshots, affidavits, power logs going back 90 days. We laid it all out, a coordinated operation of quiet, systematic power theft. Vanessa was there, arms folded, glaring like she was being tried for witchcraft. When she tried to speak, the room didn't let her. Too much evidence. Too many angry neighbors. The HOA voted to suspend her privileges immediately. City Utilities launched an audit. Vanessa was hit with fines, restitution orders, and a formal warning from the Municipal Energy Authority. Her golf cart? Gone. Her heaters? Disconnected. The orange cords? Vanished overnight. Power, it turned out, isn't just something that runs through wires. Sometimes it comes from a community, fed up and fired up. Weeks passed. The neighborhood settled. People waved again, talked over fences, helped each other with yard work. And me? I upgraded a few folks' systems, showed them how to lock down their panels, and helped Nancy install a motion sensor on her breaker box. Vanessa tried to pretend it never happened. She planted flowers, smiled at people who weren't smiling back. The woman who once strutted like she ran the block now kept her head down, and her cords in her yard. Then, one quiet afternoon, she walked over to my property line. No sunglasses, no robe, just her. She said, "I guess I owe you an apology." I looked at her for a long time. "For which part?" I asked. She looked down. "All of it." I nodded. "Good," said. "Now you know how real power works."